And good morning world. It is Tuesday the 7th of April 2020. It's about 10 a.m. UK time. It's full moon, or it will be very shortly. And it's an interesting full moon this. Not so much because of the aspects that it makes. I mean, it's not really touching Jupiter or Pluto or Saturn or Mars. It's not really touching Venus or Mercury. Yes, it's in conjunct Neptune, so it's a continuation to a lesser degree of the full moon energy of last month, which was the intensity of the virus. We are approaching what I call the end of the first wave of intense astrological energy of 2020. It will be over in a few days' time. Mars will complete its square to Uranus today. Jupiter has completed its first pass of its conjunction to Pluto and is now just beginning to move away. It does seem to me that temporarily, at least, the more we get into the second half of April, the more the immediacy and the urgency of recent times is going to decrease. That doesn't mean it's going to diminish or disappear. It means it's going to decrease. It will return later in the year. Whether that means a resurgence of virus or something else, I don't know, but I suspect a resurgence of virus later in the year. I've been having some fascinating conversations with people, and I was dealing with a very close friend last night who was absolutely adamant, trying to persuade me that much of the coronavirus is connected to 5G. Now, there's been a lot of furore in the British press around this in recent days, and there's one absolutely damning fact. For all those people who say that 5G is the root of all evil and that 5G causes coronavirus, how does that work in countries like Iran and Japan who don't have 5G but have lots and lots of coronavirus? Interesting question. These are the same people mainly who predominantly believe that Bill Gates is at the root of all evil and that controls the patents on coronavirus and the vaccines and is behind everything that goes wrong with the world. And I will be doing a horoscope on Bill Gates soon enough. But there's other things more pressing at the time rather than conspiracy theories. Big thank you to my astrological colleague in Spain, you know who you are, who pointed out to me that there is actually an asteroid called Wuhan, which I found fascinating. And that at the moment, the asteroid Wuhan in the sky is right up there at the end of Capricorn, in between Saturn and Pluto. Fascinating, you can't make this up. That same astrologer, I think it was, also pointed out to me that using sidereal zodiac, which I don't, I use tropical, but using sidereal, which means knocking everything 23 to 24 degrees back, Pluto moved into Capricorn properly on the first day in February when Britain recorded over 100 deaths. There's a little bit of evidence to suggest this works, but it doesn't change my opinion it doesn't change my working practice. Sidereal astrologers and tropical astrologers do have some interesting arguments. I'm not suggesting one is better than the other. I just know that I've worked with tropical for 40 years and all my clients like me working with it, and I will continue doing this. I'm really disappointed in the majority of world leaders. From the Scottish Health Minister who tells everyone to stay indoors and then goes off to a second home and wanders around beaches and golf courses, to the New Zealand Health Minister who tells everyone to stay at home and then goes to the beach with his children, to the Brazilian Premier who just says, oh, it's all hype and spin, you shouldn't worry and let's get back to work, to the world leader who says, oh, I'm not wearing a mask, I don't look good in a mask. And in this country, the Prime Minister of Britain is very seriously ill. 2 to 3 weeks ago, he was videoed recording saying, oh, I shall still shake hands. Now he's got coronavirus. Now a look at Boris's chart is very, very revealing. There are two very significant factors. Boris's chart, Boris has, let me get this right, Boris has Libra rising and a Scorpio moon. He's a Gemini with Libra rising and a Scorpio moon. Neptune rules his 6th house of health, hygiene, diet, nutrition, exercise. Neptune in the sky is exactly squaring Boris Johnson's Mercury in Gemini. Both Mercury and Gemini are the astrological significators of communication, networking, breathing, the lungs, the windpipe, this part of the body. And with Neptune in the sky squaring his Mercury in Gemini, I kind of understand why there's an element of fatigue, phlegm, breathing problems. But Neptune is squaring the Mercury at any given time of 1% of the world's population. He'll be squaring my Mercury next year. Memo to self, keep taking the turmeric and the ginger and the colloidal silver and especially the bryonia. Yes. That in itself is not a clear significator of why Boris Johnson should be so dramatically ill from an astrological perspective. It's a big indicator, but not the main one. In Boris Johnson's progressed chart, the progressed moon and progressed Neptune are exactly conjunct at the moment. And the progressed moon will pass exactly on top of his natal Neptune in some 4 or 5 days' time. Bearing in mind that he's in intensive care. Maybe or maybe not getting oxygen to help him breathe. Regardless of political opinion, regardless of whether you like someone or not, you never wish the worst for anyone. You always wish the best, at least if you've got a conscience, and if you haven't got a conscience, you're not human. So obviously, I wish him and all of his family a quick recovery and the best of health. From an astrological perspective, however, when Mercury was conjunct Neptune a couple of days ago, exactly squaring his Mercury, this is just before he was admitted to hospital, and this is when the symptoms suddenly escalated. Now with the progressed moon conjuncting both his progressed Neptune and his natal Neptune, reaching a peak in some 6 days' time, if Boris Johnson is still on planet, alive, in 7 days from now, I'm convinced he will have a good recovery, and it will take him a long time to recover with Neptune squaring his Mercury, and he will not be able to resume full duties for a long time, months. However, with the progressed moon conjuncting his Neptune right now, astrologically it seems to me that this part of his body is weak, and there seems to be cause for concern. I would suggest his chances of survival from an astrological perspective at this time are 50-50, maybe a little bit more. Obviously, I wish him well. And it's full moon. It's a beautiful moon. Because the skies are so clear, some of the views we're getting of Venus and the moon are spectacular at the moment. And I've seen some great pictures that people have sent me from both Australia and over New York City of Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, and thank you for all of these. We're getting such a light show in the heavens because the skies are so clear, because the pollution levels are so down. I find it ludicrous that there are certain political schools of thought that says, okay, herd immunity, let's just go back to work anyway, the fittest will survive and we can keep on making money. The virus isn't selective of wealth or class or religion or even age. It's selective of those with a good immune system. Keep eating your vegetables and your fruit and your salad. Keep taking the ginger. Keep doing everything you can to build your own immune system up. And keep a positive sense of humour. As of tomorrow, I will be returning with the jokes. I've got a backlog of jokes. I'm not going to do one today because it's full moon and it's quite serious what's going on out there, particularly in this country at the moment. The next 24 to 48 hours are pretty intense. But this is the final hurdle for the next few months. Catch you tomorrow, I hope, world. Bye now.